Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday the 4th of June. So let's run through these markets. I'm going to just press on a couple of buttons back on here. I started this just a tad early, this apply filter. I just wanted to look at what news is coming out today first. Okay, so overnight we've had the Aussie retail sales come out. We've got the new cash rate, which is exactly the same as the last, and it's beg your pardon, it's exactly the same as forecast rather, and a statement should have been out at 5:30. So that's all been done. So we'll have a look at the Aussie in a minute. Aside of that, this morning at 10 we've got the flash CPI Consumer Price Index flash index estimates coming out at 10 o'clock. It can be quite useful at times, although it's we've already seen some of the constituents reporting on flash data. We got the Reserve Bank of Australia Governor speaking at 10:30, so that may get the Aussie moving again if it hasn't already moved. I should imagine it has. As expected, the interest rate cut, so it's what he says to follow up on that. Okay, then what else we got? We got FOMC speakers today, including the Fed chair speaker himself at 2:55. So right, okay, let's get cracking and have a look at what's going on here. So right, euro dollar, well, good break up yesterday. Now, important information here is that it's made a higher low in all of this on the dailies there, and it confirmed that on the break. Now, it has got a bit overbought, but it is still moving up. So so long as it continues moving up, I'm not going to stand in the way of it. However, I mean, in the short term, I mean, we could simply draw a trend line across the lows here and sell into that. But I'm surprised it's pushing up quite so much in a week when we're going to see news coming out. We're going to have the ECB meeting, so there we are. It's perhaps someone knows something that I don't. Perhaps Draghi Draghi is still Draghi, isn't it? Draghi is settling a bit of a deal first, and he's going to actually mention an interest rate increase instead of looking for the disastrous extra work they're going to have to do to try and stimulate the euro, but it looks like they're stimulating it at the moment now. Anyway, so we've seen the euro continue its push up there in a nutshell. I would be looking to sell this at some point, but not quite yet. I've got to wait for reversals, and I'll be looking off the shorter time frame for reversals if I see one. But as I say, it's a bit overbought on the 4-hourly time frame, so which is quite a high time frame for my signal to be flashing up there. So I've got a bit of time. It could come right the way back within range once it starts moving the other way. It does surprise me why this is pushing quite the way it is, but there we are. Okay, so don't want to be doing anything now, just need to wait in summary on the euro. A pound, well, it has managed to find a bit of grip, and okay, we've seen some dollars selling, and of course even the pound's moving from that movement. It's still got some chance of pushing up further as well, maybe towards its monthly pivot there. There was some divergence into the lows here on the daily. It's been sitting there for a few days in divergence, but eventually sort of maybe getting a bit of a movement from it. My preference is still to be on the sell side of this market, and it may be I just sit back and let this happen. We'll have a look. But likewise, it's got the daily pivot below, as with the euro. Much choppier day yesterday, gave a nice trade yesterday for me. Maybe it will come good sometime this morning and start showing me the signals of a reversal, in which case I will sell it. There is a bigger potential here if it starts breaking. There's a trend line across the lows on this 60-minute chart, which might see a bit more of a move from, but there's a nearer term trend line running up there, which might be good enough to look for a break off. If it doesn't break, well, it's going to continue to the upside. I'm not really keen on actually being long on the either the euro or the pound at the moment, but in which case I might miss the move. But there we go, you can't be in them all. Okay, dollar yen, So come out, look at the well, I understand the strengthening in the yen a little bit more maybe. I thought actually some traders with the bullishness in the pound and euro may have been unwinding some of their positions, but they're not, and it suggests that we could see some more downside. It's not necessarily the biggest mover of the yen. I wouldn't get carried away. I mean, even the euro's not generally got a 40 pip intraday move, so those moves look a lot better than they really are relatively. But there is some divergence sitting on the 4 hourlies on the yen there. It's daily pivot above, but as I say, there's a few pips, 20 odd pips there maybe, but there's not a lot back towards that for me to be looking at, and I would rather step aside of this one as well. So I say a step aside. I'm waiting for the euro and the pound to break down. The yen, I don't really want to trade it either way. Aussie dollar, so we had the news out overnight. Retail sales disappointing, but seems that nothing can disappoint this Aussie at the moment, and higher low put in there at the moment, and an interest rate cut. Well, the interest rate cut was pretty much priced into the market, so there's probably not too much of a shock there. And sometimes when a central bank does something to stimulate the economy, it will be seen positively for the currency, but it just looks like the dollar's getting a beating here regardless. Well, it may be there we go, it's 5 o'clock mark, we saw the cash rate come out, and we saw it rally and then sell off quite strongly. But I say quite strongly, it's barely broken anything, and it's still sitting in this upward trend at the moment. So you can see there's pretty much US dollar weakness as opposed to anything being particularly strong. But there is a continued move at the moment on the Aussie. Canadian dollar, well, sort of follow through. Are we going to see much more of this? May do. If we've seen the other markets, we could see this roll over. Lovely daily pivot swing sitting on it. Very little movement so far today relative to the other markets. It's not really moved too much today so far. Pitching over here a little bit, could come back into range. It could even come back to 134, maybe even right the way down towards this 4 hourly 500 there. So does look like it's got some potential, but the big picture, I would be looking at maybe a bounce around that area on that. And finally, Canadian dollar. What else did I want to have a look? A quick look at the S&Ps there for later. Just get a bit of a picture. Yesterday, put in a nice little spinning top, a bit of a reversal candle in the end, and it did rally later in the session. It was a bit of a game of 3 halves, it seemed. I know, 3/3. Okay, bit of a choppy old day yesterday, but did close up a bit more positively than it opened for sure. The S&P's futures. Where to today? It's stifled here. My preference is still to the downside on the bigger picture there. That's not to say we won't get movements if the currency is softening off. It may be. We'll see some money coming out of bonds and back into equities, but again, I think I'd rather be patient and wait for these markets. So in summary, the euro, the pound may be an easier target at some point. Looking more on the short side. The euro white, so I mean, one of these markets are quite run over. They are, as I say, it's more dollar weakness than strength within these markets. They're still pretty soft. Do look at my big picture I put on YouTube yesterday, or a website there yesterday. Do look at that. It gives you a much more detailed explanation of why I'm saying these markets, these currencies are soft, because it's done the full technical fundamental analysis behind them. Okay, that's it for me. Have a great day. Bye for now.